The sun was shining brightly over the Martinez family's backyard as they gathered to celebrate the completion of their new swimming pool. After months of planning, saving, and hard work, the day had finally arrived. The kids, Mia and Lucas, squealed with delight as they splashed water and played games in the shimmering blue water. For the Martinez family, this pool represented more than just a place to cool off during the hot summer months. It was a symbol of family togetherness and joy. However, not everyone in the neighborhood shared their excitement. Mr. Roberts, their next-door neighbor, stood on his porch, arms crossed and a frown etched on his face. He had always been a bit of a curmudgeon, known for his strict adherence to neighborhood rules and his disdain for anything that disrupted the status quo. As he watched the children play, his irritation grew. He believed that the pool was too close to the property line and that it would block his view of the sunset, which he cherished. The following day, Mr. Roberts decided to confront the Martinez family. He knocked on their door, his expression stern. When Mrs. Martinez answered, he wasted no time getting to the point. "I need to talk to you about that pool," he said, his voice firm. "It's too close to my property line, and it's going to block my view. You need to remove it." Taken aback by his abruptness, Mrs. Martinez tried to remain calm. "Mr. Roberts, we followed all the local regulations and obtained the necessary permits before installing the pool. We made sure it was within the guidelines," she explained, hoping to defuse the situation. But Mr. Roberts was unyielding. "I don't care about your permits. It's an eyesore and I won't stand for it. You need to take it down," he insisted, his tone leaving no room for negotiation. Mrs. Martinez felt a knot tighten in her stomach. She had always tried to be a good neighbor, and the last thing she wanted was a conflict. "We really love the pool, and it's a great addition for our family. Can we discuss this further?" she asked, hoping to find some common ground. Mr. Roberts shook his head, his expression hardening. "I've made my decision. If you don't remove it, I'll have to take further action," he warned before turning on his heel and walking away. As the door closed behind him, Mrs. Martinez felt a wave of frustration wash over her. She turned to her husband, Carlos, who had been listening from the living room. "What are we going to do?" "He's being unreasonable," she said, her voice tinged with worry. Carlos sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We did everything right. We have the permits, and we're within our rights to have the pool. But it seems like Mr. Roberts is determined to make this difficult," he replied, trying to reassure her. The couple spent the evening discussing their options. They knew they had followed all the rules, but they also understood that Mr. Roberts was not the type to back down easily. They decided to invite him over for a friendly discussion, hoping to resolve the issue amicably. The next day, they prepared for the meeting, setting out snacks and drinks in the backyard. When Mr. Roberts arrived, he seemed slightly more relaxed, but the tension was still palpable. The Martinez family explained their vision for the pool and how it would enhance their family life. They emphasized their commitment to being good neighbors and their willingness to address any concerns he had. However, Mr. Roberts remained steadfast in his objections. "I just don't want to look at it every day. It's not what I signed up for when I moved here," he said, crossing his arms again. As the conversation continued, it became clear that Mr. Roberts was not interested in compromise. The Martinez family felt a growing sense of frustration, realizing that their neighbor's stubbornness might lead to a more significant conflict. Little did they know that this was just the beginning of a long and challenging battle over their beloved pool. After their initial confrontation with Mr. Roberts, the Martinez family felt a mix of determination and anxiety. They had hoped that a friendly discussion would ease tensions, but it had only solidified Mr. Roberts' stance against their pool. As the days passed, the summer sun continued to shine, and the children enjoyed their new swimming pool, but the shadow of conflict loomed over the Martinez household. Determined to find a resolution, Carlos and Mrs. Martinez decided to take a proactive approach. They gathered their children, Mia and Lucas, and explained the situation. "We want to keep enjoying our pool, but we also want to be good neighbors," Carlos said. "Let's think of ways we can show Mr. Roberts that we're willing to compromise." Mia, always the creative thinker, suggested, "What if we invite him over for a barbecue? We can show him how much fun we're having, and maybe he'll change his mind." Lucas chimed in, "Yeah, we can even let him try the pool. Maybe he'll see it's not so bad." The idea sparked hope in the Martinez family. They quickly set to work planning the barbecue, excited about the possibility of turning their neighbor's frown into a smile. They prepared a delicious spread of grilled burgers, hot dogs, and fresh salads, and even set up a small area for games to keep the atmosphere light and fun. On the day of the barbecue, the Martinez family was filled with anticipation. They set up the backyard with colorful decorations and laid out the food on a long table. As the sun began to set, casting a warm glow over the neighborhood, they welcomed Mr. Roberts with open arms. At first, Mr. Roberts seemed hesitant, standing at the edge of the yard with his arms crossed. But as the aroma of grilled food wafted through the air, he slowly relaxed. The Martinez family made a concerted effort to engage him in conversation, sharing stories about their plans for the pool and how it would be a place for family gatherings and fun. "Look, Mr. Roberts," Mrs. Martinez said, gesturing toward the pool, "we want to create a space where our family can come together and enjoy the summer. We really did our best to follow all the rules, and we want to be good neighbors." Mr. Roberts listened, but his expression remained skeptical. "I understand that, but I still don't like the idea of it blocking my view. It's just not what I expected when I moved here," he replied, his tone still firm. As the evening progressed, the children splashed in the pool, laughing and playing games. Mia and Lucas invited Mr. Roberts to join them, and after some hesitation, he finally relented. He dipped his toes in the water, and for a brief moment, a smile broke through his stern demeanor. The laughter of the children seemed to soften his heart, and he even joined in a game of pool volleyball. However, as the night wore on, the underlying tension returned. After the barbecue, Mr. Roberts thanked the Martinez family for their hospitality, but reiterated his concerns about the pool. "I appreciate the invite, but I still think it's too close to my property line. I'll have to think about this," he said, leaving the Martinez family feeling disheartened. Despite their efforts, it was clear that Mr. Roberts was not ready to back down. The Martinez family felt a sense of defeat, but they also knew they couldn't give up. They had followed all the regulations, and they were determined to stand their ground. That night, as they sat together in the living room, Carlos turned to his family. "We've done everything we can to resolve this peacefully, but it seems like Mr. Roberts is set in his ways. We may need to consider our legal options if he continues to pursue this," he said, his voice steady but filled with concern. Mrs. Martinez nodded, her expression serious. "I agree. We need to protect our rights as homeowners. Let's consult a lawyer and find out what our options are," she replied, feeling a renewed sense of determination. The next day, they began researching local laws and regulations regarding property rights and swimming pools. They learned about the importance of having proper permits and the rights homeowners had to enjoy their property. With this newfound knowledge, they felt empowered to take the next steps in defending their beloved pool. As they prepared to consult a lawyer, the Martinez family knew that the road ahead would be challenging. But they were ready to fight for their right to enjoy their home and their new swimming pool, no matter what it took. Little did they know that this conflict would soon escalate into a battle that would test their resolve and their commitment to their family and community. With a sense of determination, the Martinez family scheduled a consultation with a local attorney who specialized in property disputes. They gathered all their documentation, including the permits they had obtained for the pool, the plans they submitted to the city, and any correspondence they had with Mr. Roberts. They wanted to ensure that they were fully prepared to present their case. On the day of the meeting, the family arrived at the lawyer's office, a modest building with a welcoming atmosphere. As they sat in the waiting room, Carlos and Mrs. Martinez exchanged nervous glances. Mia and Lucas, sensing the tension, fidgeted in their seats, their excitement about the pool overshadowed by the uncertainty of the situation. When their lawyer, Miss Thompson, called them into her office, they felt a wave of relief. She was warm and approachable, immediately putting them at ease. After they explained the situation, Miss Thompson listened intently, nodding as they recounted their interactions with Mr. Roberts. "It sounds like you've done everything by the book," she said, reviewing their permits and plans. "As long as your pool complies with local regulations, you have every right to keep it. Mr. Roberts may not like it, but that doesn't give him the authority to demand its removal." The Martinez family felt a surge of hope. Miss Thompson continued, "If Mr. Roberts continues to escalate this situation, you may need to consider filing a counter-complaint against him for harassment. It's important to document everything moving forward. With a plan in place, the Martinez family left the lawyer's office feeling empowered. They knew they had the legal backing to defend their property rights, but they also understood that the conflict with Mr. Roberts was far from over. As the days turned into weeks, Mr. Roberts became increasingly vocal about his discontent. He began to approach other neighbors, sharing his grievances about the pool and urging them to support his cause. The Martinez family noticed a shift in the neighborhood dynamics. Some neighbors who had previously been friendly now seemed hesitant to engage with them. One evening, as the Martinez family enjoyed a barbecue by the pool, they overheard Mr. Roberts speaking to another neighbor, Mrs. Jenkins, from across the fence. "It's just not right," he said, his voice carrying over the sound of splashing water. "That pool is ruining the neighborhood's charm. We can't let them get away with this." Mrs. Jenkins, who had always been friendly with the Martinez family, looked uncertain. "I don't know, Mr. Roberts. They seem to have followed the rules," she replied hesitantly. The Martinez family exchanged worried glances. They could feel the tension in the air, and it was clear that Mr. Roberts was rallying support against them. The thought of their neighbors turning against them was disheartening, but they knew they had to stay strong. Determined to counteract Mr. Roberts' influence, the Martinez family decided to host a neighborhood gathering. They wanted to invite everyone over to showcase their pool and remind their neighbors of the joy it brought to their family. They hoped that by opening their home, they could foster goodwill and dispel any negative perceptions. As they prepared for the gathering, they sent out invitations to all their neighbors, including Mr. Roberts. They wanted to extend an olive branch, hoping that he would see the pool as a source of community enjoyment rather than a point of contention. On the day of the gathering, the Martinez family decorated their backyard with colorful lights and set up a buffet of food and drinks. They prepared games for the children and even organized a small poolside movie screening for the evening. As guests began to arrive, the atmosphere was filled with laughter and excitement. However, Mr. Roberts did not attend. Instead, he stood on his porch, arms crossed, watching the festivities with a scowl. The Martinez family noticed his presence but chose to focus on their guests, engaging in conversations and sharing stories about their pool. As the evening progressed, the children splashed in the water and the adults mingled, enjoying the warm summer night. The Martinez family felt a sense of camaraderie with their neighbors, who expressed their support and appreciation for the gathering. They shared stories of their own summer memories and the joy of community. But as the night wore on, the shadow of Mr. Roberts loomed larger. He continued to voice his complaints to anyone who would listen, and the Martinez family could sense the divide growing in the neighborhood. They knew that the conflict was escalating, and they would need to prepare for the next steps in their fight to keep their pool. As the gathering came to a close, Carlos and Mrs. Martinez gathered their children and reflected on the evening. "We did our best to show everyone how much this pool means to us," Carlos said, his voice filled with determination. "But we need to be ready for whatever Mr. Roberts throws at us next." Mrs. Martinez nodded, her eyes filled with resolve. "We've done everything we can to be good neighbors, but it's clear that Mr. Roberts isn't going to back down easily. We need to be prepared for a fight, but we also need to stay true to ourselves and our values." As the sun set, casting a golden hue over their backyard, the Martinez family gathered around the pool, reflecting on the joy it had brought them. They knew that the battle ahead would be challenging, but they were united in their commitment to protect their home and their family's happiness. The following week, the Martinez family returned to Miss Thompson's office, armed with the knowledge they had gained from their neighborhood gathering. They recounted the events of the evening, including Mr. Roberts' continued efforts to rally support against them. Miss Thompson listened attentively, her expression serious. "It sounds like Mr. Roberts is trying to create a narrative that could potentially harm your standing in the community," she said, leaning forward in her chair. "It's important to counteract that narrative with facts and evidence. We need to ensure that you're not only legally protected, but also perceived positively by your neighbors." Miss Thompson suggested that they document all interactions with Mr. Roberts and any complaints he made. Keep a record of everything, dates, times, and the content of conversations. "This will be crucial if this escalates further," she advised. The Martinez family took her advice to heart. They began to keep a detailed log of their interactions with Mr. Roberts, noting his complaints and their responses. They also reached out to supportive neighbors, asking if they would be willing to provide written statements about their experiences with the pool and the positive impact it had on the community. As they gathered support, they felt a renewed sense of hope. Neighbors who had previously been hesitant began to speak up, sharing their own stories of enjoying the pool and the joy it brought to the neighborhood. The Martinez family felt bolstered by this support, knowing they were not alone in their fight. However, Mr. Roberts was not idle. He continued to escalate the situation, filing formal complaints with the Homeowners Association and even contacting local authorities to express his grievances. The Martinez family received a letter from the HOA informing them that an investigation had been initiated based on Mr. Roberts' claims. The letter was a blow to their spirits, but they refused to be intimidated. They scheduled a meeting with the HOA to present their case, armed with their documentation and the support of their neighbors. They knew that this was their chance to defend their right to enjoy their property. On the day of the HOA meeting, the atmosphere was tense. The Martinez family arrived early, setting up their presentation and ensuring they had all their evidence organized. As other homeowners filtered in, they could see Mr. Roberts sitting at the front, his expression smug and self-satisfied. When the meeting began, the HOA board members introduced themselves and outlined the agenda. Mr. Roberts was given the floor first, and he wasted no time voicing his complaints. "The Martinez family's pool is a blight on our community," he declared, his voice dripping with disdain. "It's too close to my property line, and it's ruining the aesthetic of our neighborhood." The board listened attentively, but the Martinez family could see the skepticism in some members' eyes. When it was their turn to speak, Carlos stood up, his heart racing but his resolve firm. "Thank you for allowing us to present our case," he began, his voice steady. "We have followed all local regulations and obtained the necessary permits for our pool. We believe that it enhances our property and contributes positively to the community." As he spoke, Mrs. Martinez presented their documentation, including the permits, photographs of the pool, and letters of support from their neighbors. The board members reviewed the materials, and the atmosphere in the room began to shift. One board member, a woman named Ms. Ramirez, spoke up. "It seems that the Martinez family has made a significant effort to comply with regulations and engage with the community. I think it's important to consider the positive impact this pool has had on their family and the neighborhood." The board members nodded in agreement, and the Martinez family felt a surge of hope. They continued to present their case, emphasizing their commitment to being good neighbors and their willingness to address any concerns. After a thorough discussion, the board members deliberated and ultimately ruled in favor of the Martinez family. They affirmed that the pool complied with all regulations and encouraged Mr. Roberts to be more understanding of his neighbors' choices. As the meeting concluded, the Martinez family felt a wave of relief wash over them. They had stood up for their rights and had been heard. They left the meeting with their heads held high, knowing that they had fought for their home and their family. However, they also knew that Mr. Roberts would not give up easily. As they walked back to their house, they could see him standing on his porch, arms crossed and a scowl on his face. The sight of him sent a chill down their spines, but the Martinez family was determined not to let his negativity overshadow their victory.